You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Well, this is your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we got an amazing creative threat over here. He is the dual threat. The man that is in the house today on the independent scene is a writer. He is an artist. He got a fire project now that we're about to talk about and pimp out like no other. You know what we do here, right? You know what it is, right? Like I saw him in the green room. I mean, we pimp out the dopest projects in the world, but we do not take out 10% like most pimps do. You know what I mean? We take no percentages. We're here for the love of the industry to showcase amazing creators, amazing writers, amazing artists, amazing independent folks like the man I'm bringing to this stage right now, the future star, the future legend, the big boss himself, Mr. C.L. Zeno. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thanks for the intro. Appreciate it.
I mean, you're a boss. You got a fire project out. I mean, it's kicking ass. You're an independent writer, artist. You know what I mean? You're a double threat. You know what I mean? It's folks like you that are definitely amongst my favorite creators. No disrespect to those that are just individuals in the game, but when you got a full package type creator, that's something special. Because that's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you got to salute these guys even more, because that's definitely a big task to take on by yourselves. But, you know, let's roll it back before we talk about why you chose this type of slavery, if you will, or indentured servitude. Let's talk about the early origins of the man, the myth, the legend that is CLZ, baby. Where you originally from, and what was the first thing you ever fell in love with in fandom?
So I'm from Los Angeles, California. My single dad bought me a bunch of those Marvel Essentials, you know, like the 20 issues for $20, black and white.
All the Hulks. Yeah. I got all the Hulks like that up until the very last one, and I got very upset because I was hoping to have finished that run within the Essentials.
Yeah, so I read everything in those, and it was the cheapest way to buy comics for my dad. So that's how I read it. It was the
$10 a pop. That's why they stopped making them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Inexpensive, $10 a pop, 20 issues. I mean, for real, like I got all the Hulks for real. Fuck, bro.
Yeah. I had like I had Hulk, Defenders, Avengers, Ghost Rider, Thor, Silver Surfer, you name it.
I gotta get the Ghost Rider ones. Fuck.
Yeah.
Did they finish? Did any one of those runs ever finish?
I don't know if they completed entire because like they would do like Web of Spider-Man, and so like some of them were not the main book and stuff like that. So like they
kept it natural. They kind of kept the real sequence with the Hulk one. That's why I'm asking, because shit.
I don't know if they printed anything from like you know, 21st century or anything like that in there, But yeah, like that's kind of what I grew up on. And the Silver Surfer is definitely, I think, my favorite character. I mean, I have him tattooed on my arm.
Hey, why? What is it about the Silver Surfer that got you to the point where you have marked your body with the power cosmic?
I'm glad you asked. So when I was reading it, I was maybe 7, 8 years old, and it was the mature themes, you know, like the militarism of the humans, and he just, instead of fighting them, kind of just goes off and ponders, you know, why is humanity like this? And
it's like he's Atlas, right? Like Silver Surfer is Atlas on the board, not carrying the weight of the world, but rather, you know, he is riding the world on the board.
Right, and in a bunch of ways, to me, he's kind of like the Superman of the Marvel universe, to where it takes an alien to show humanity what humanity is, and that was something that I was able to wrap my head around at like 7 or 8, and I was like, man, I'm really being treated like an adult here. Yeah.
Why are you so deep at 7? What happened? Jeez.
so so the Stan Lee writing, where like not only is he telling you those themes and treating you like an adult, he's also telling you like, hey, if you want to find out how this happened, read Spider-Man number 181. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And so like he just kind of directed me to other stuff to read, and so I
The
felt like he was
good
kind of
days
reaching
when
out
they
to
knew
me.
how to market books within books. Anyway, like
Exactly.
put to the back issues, not about buying the latest issue, but rather, hey, go back a bit. Check this out.
Yeah. So he hooked me for sure. At a really early age. So that was definitely my intro to comics, and I've been drawing my whole life, and I think I kind of seriously started to get into it when I was on my deployment with the Navy. Um,
Thank you for your service,
uh,
Mr. Zeno. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
I was in the Navy for 8.5 years, and I really on my deployment I started writing quite a bit, and finding that not only did I kind of get into it very quickly, I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I do consider myself, I think my writing and my color art is probably my two best disciplines. But I have been drawing my whole life, so it really is like you said, kind of like a whole package. Lettering is pretty much the only thing I don't really bring to the table. I'm a garbage letterer.
You're the anti-literal CL. Oh my God, for the moment. But
It's a work in progress. That's right.
let me ask here though. You brought it to the future, kind of where you stepped in. But before you even stepped in your geekdom and in your nerddom, did you have a tribe growing up, or were you kind of the lone wolf type of kid that had to keep a secret?
I mean, it was a little bit different. Where yeah, I was a little bit of an outcast, but I mean, I had friends that I was in like a rock band with, and we were in a band called the
You're in a
Flying.
rock band.
We
Hey, check
we
this
were in
man
a,
out.
we were in a band called the Flying Graysons, right?
Oh,
From
shit, of
Batman.
course. Of a comic geek to the core, the flying grays and stuff fucking around. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
So yeah, there was always a few kids that were into comics and into whether it was rock or Star Wars or something like that. D&D even when I got into at like 17, 18. I've been playing D&D since then.
Oh, really? I never got into D&D as a New Yorker. It's not type of out thing to get into unless you're part of the goth emo kid club. And being a 90s Puerto Rican from Brooklyn, yeah, there's not much emo around.
Yeah,
From
and that's the best thing about like right now, like all of those things are really mainstream. You got the
yeah,
D&D movie, you got
right.
Baldur's Gate 3 is like the biggest game of the year. And comic movies are huge. So everybody knows you don't have to hide it anymore. You
Yo,
can be a Star Wars
CLG,
fan.
I
You can
want to learn. I want to learn to play. I don't want to be a dungeon master, but I need to learn. It seems that a lot of my Crusaders play, and they always inviting me, but I swear that their whole agenda is just to murder the boss, a la Attitude Style from the WWE. Like, no, 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 you're not murdering the boss. I'm gonna make sure I take some of you with me. All right,
well,
so
I'd say if a dungeon master's whole goal is to kill you, I think they're losing the point, in my opinion. The point is to have fun. So you're the facilitator of the fun. So
yeah, well, the fun is for them to kill me.
for them, they might be having fun, but no. So my friend Jorge Alvarez reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, I got a project. We've been following each other. I backed Evandra's Theory number 1 and 2 with you, and you backed Exit to Z. I'm doing a horror project. You got something for me?" And I was like, "Well, horror. I haven't really done a horror
Ooh.
comic, but
Are
I
you
have.
a fan?
I am a horror fan. I think by osmosis. My sister and my uncles
He said
really."
Moses. Oh my God.
Dude, they push me into those mazes at Universal Studios and scare the crap out of me. They drag me to all the movies and stuff. So I have a lot of like that horror references to draw from. So I was doing research for the D&D campaign. I was learning about a lot about vampires, and not just like what their powers are, what their weaknesses are, but like where they come from, like the etymology, the history of vampire stories,
Right.
and kind of where those come from, and a lot of their like political tie-ins and like what people were trying to say at the time. And so I was like, okay, I think I have a vampire story in me. I can do one of those. And by the time I like thought about it and got back to him, he was like, okay, cool, we'll have 2 vampire stories. And I was like, man, I don't want to be just like another vampire story. I want to stand out. So I was like, okay, well, I don't think that they'll be doing a D&D fantasy like style of story. So I'm gonna just go put my whole self in there. I'm gonna be very vulnerable. I'm gonna be the geekiest version of myself that I can. I'm gonna do a sword and sorcery type comic story. So um, it the characters are all based on the D&D campaign, and I took everything that's happened in the 2 years that we've been playing and just kind of dumbed it down to, okay, what is absolutely necessary to tell just the vampire character's story. And it's my sister's character. She's this like frog fighter guy, and he's kind of flawed. He's very likable, and he gets bitten by this vampire mid-adventure, and so it's his kind of like anti-hero battling with the vampirism in himself. And so he's fighting, this personal journey about, being called a monster and trying to overcome that and like keep his humanity intact. So it really is a monster story, which is one of my favorite, types of horror stories, where the monster is misunderstood and they're the actual hero. And they're really kind of a victim in a big way. Like if you're a fan of the Marvel movies and stuff, like the Werewolf by Night is one of my favorite things that they've done.
Oh man, isn't that a beautiful way?
So good.
Filmography, cinematography, the way they handle the project. That yes, yeah. Give us that, something so unique, so different, so fun.
But at the same time, it wears its cinematic references on its sleeve and really kind of shows a homage to the things that kind of inform its horror language, right? So that's definitely what I wanted to do with the cover. If you pull that one up, I was like, well, I was thinking about what do comic fans want, right? Like creatively, I'm making a D&D comic book. I'm good to go. I don't really need anything particular. But what would a comic fan want if they're reading about vampires and they're a big comic book fan? The first thing that comes to mind is Blade. So this is an homage to the first appearance of Blade.
That's what I thought too.
Tomb of Dracula #10.
As soon as I saw it, that's exactly what I thought. Oh, this is so Blade-ish.
Exactly. So instead of Blade getting ready to throw a knife at Dracula, it's our man Goop here with his flaming sword about to fight Phineas Wardrum.
So why the name Goop?
Goop. So good question. All the frog people in D&D have a name that is kind of an onomatopoeia. So there's one that's named Smack. There's one that's named Mush, and so they all have like these sounds that are like wet and gross, and like you could almost see it in a comic book. And so that was the name my sister picked, was Goop, and the rest of the characters are in there. You got Canthrell, the Drow. You've got Falls, the Bard. And Zephyr, the Genasi rogue. So
is this really cool. The cover? You did the cover too, right here?
Right. So I did the pencils and inks on that. I did the inks and the colors in the interior. But I actually tapped my buddy who worked on Avondra's Theory with us. He did the colors for 2 of the stories, one in each issue. It's called Birth of a Legend, Part 1 and 2, and he has that like retro coloring where it's like the dot matrix where you can see the colors kind of being formed of different types of ink. And so I was like, dude, like you could do a way better job than anybody at this. So I had him do the colors for me for the cover for the homage.
And look how fun this page looks. I mean, look at the word bubbles. A salute to your letterer, because it doesn't interfere with any of the art. Allows you to appreciate the art and again a nice wordy page that makes it look like you're getting a bang for your buck. Because who wants to read a book in 2 minutes? No one.
Yeah, and high fantasy is very wordy, and I definitely think my writing style is very wordy. Which Micah Myers, the letterer, he's worked with DC, Webtoon, Dark Horse, IDW. Yeah, he's awesome. So he always knows, like, okay, well, Leighton wants these certain things in here.
You know what? You would think he's related to Michael Myers the way he murders these pages. Right?
Michael Myers. Excellent horror reference there. Yeah, like this one was so fun for me because at the same time, like, you're getting horror and like there's a little bit of violence and gore and blood and guts and stuff, but like it's also kind of that same sword and sorcery fantasy. Like when he's pulling the sword out and it says splorch, you know, like you can just imagine the blood just splattering everywhere, but it's still like action packed. So yeah, just
look at this scene here. You go to the last panel when he's throwing up. It looks disgusting, and Leslie does a great job of just making it very disgusting.
Yeah,
I never knew that's how it was spelled. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah. I get to have fun with the onomatopoeias, the sound effects, right? The lettering is really fun. And the best thing about this horror anthology is that my friend Jorge, he brought together. We were trying to count it last night. It was like 17 independent creators working on this.
So all right, see, I'll talk about this. Why do a project as an anthology and then again in the horror space?
Well, horrors have kind of historically always played with the anthology model, right? Whether it's Tales of the Crypt, the Dark Horse Presents, VHS,
yeah,
Twilight Zone, right? All those short stories were right. So where you're like
Indiana, I mean, go bring it, bro. I'll go every generation. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And so horror kind of allows you to say like, well, what if there was this really weird idea? I only have about a short story for it, but let me bring it to life. And it's just so creative, and there's nothing really like it. You can do things in horror that you can't really do anywhere else. Where like I would never draw the close up of a cut and have somebody's eyes come out of their head while they're trying to, you know, think about eating the blood. Like that's not something that like you would really indulge in. And so it's like that weird primal, like almost like intrusive thoughts type storytelling.
Now you made me think. Imagine you do that scene, the eyeball lands in somebody's mouth and they chew on it. Would it feel like a pop rock?
Or like a gusher or something.
Oh my! Let me at the words.
Exactly. So and in this one, I wanted to kind of show that like yes, Goop is here you're showing him kind of indulgent for the first time in eating somebody's blood, but we specifically went over earlier that they're death cultists and they had already killed them, and it's just kind of fresh blood sitting there not being used, so he's kind of taking advantage of it.
I mean, you could tell. I mean, he looks like he's in a jacuzzi in that last panel. What a sicko!
That's peak Goop right there. And so, is he still a hero? Is he redeemable? That's definitely ultimately for the reader to decide. But I definitely put it all out on the table for you guys. So yeah, it's I wanted to keep it to like a tight 6 pages for Jorge, since he's printing 9 different anthology stories for us. It's like over 80 pages of comic. So it's a huge book, and I'm proud to be part of it. Yeah.
And folks, this is where we go. CLZeno.com, all over the social platforms at CLZeno. I mean, talk about building this team or getting to meet and collaborate with so many different people on an anthology project, specifically indie. Because again, this is the thing, you don't see Big Two doing too many anthologies, and when they do, let's be honest, they follow media narratives. They're not doing anything fun. They're not doing anything new. So talk about what makes this particular project stand out above anything that Big Two could do.
So I mean, with it being independent, I mean, we don't have an editor beyond Jorge himself, right? So if he thinks it's cool and he puts you on the project, then it's going in the book. I mean, I had to sell him on Goop. I had already drawn a picture of Goop for my sister.
Oh, right? Wait a minute. Yeah. You get that. Hey, look at that. Big boss. Right?
So when he's like, hey, so tell me more about this Goop guy. Like, what is going on? I showed him this picture, and he's like, hey, man, this is a horror anthology. You understand that, right? He's really cute. Like, he's not scary at all. And I was like, no. Like, it's like the body horror of him, like, trying to, like, suppress those urges, and there is blood and guts, don't worry. And he's like, okay, I trust you. So like he really does allow us to be creative ultimately in a way that maybe an editor might say, okay, we don't know if this is profitable, marketable, what have you. So so this is the main cover of Phantasmagoria. It's got the 9 different stories, and each one of the stories, this is probably one of the coolest things about the project. Each one of the stories has their own variant cover. So there are ultimately 10 covers, 9 variants, and the one main cover. So if you're coming into the project, and let's say you know Jorge Alvarez from Exodus Z, and you're like, oh, dude, huge fan of Exodus Z, let me get the Exodus Z cover. So that will not only allow you to kind of express your fandom, or if you're a fan of Blade and you're like, oh, I need the homage cover, right? But you're also introduced to the 16 other creators that you didn't know, and so he's built kind of this shared universe of indie creators to where, like, I didn't even know everybody on the project when I joined, and so I got the digital deluxe version that has not only Phantasmagoria but some other independent comics digital download for all the other creators. Like Evandra's Theory #1's in there for me, Exodus Z #1's in there, and there's, I think, over a dozen comics that are included in the digital bundle.
Jeez. Look at this guy, pimping it, folks. First off, let me say a salute to you 75 backers that are supporting this amazing independent project, which is looking at a goal of 5,500. We're currently at 2,845 with folks 12 days to go. That's 2 paydays. So there is no excuse for this not to get funded by you. Adamant supporters of indie. This is one of those projects you definitely do want to show love to. Again, right there, welcome to Phantasmagoria, baby, and you can get it started for just $1. No reward, just because out of the goodness of your heart. But of course, when you want some product, when you want some goodness, it starts with a digital copy at $7, folks.
And you can't beat that. Like, having 9 stories for $7 is just like
9 stories. You see that? 80 pages of comics for that price. Exactly. Go ahead. I mean, right now you got Big Two charging you like for 60 pages, almost $10.
Yeah, you're not going to find, and it's graphic novel bound, right? That's how big it is. You can't even do the Saddle Stitch comic binding in that, just because of the scope of the project, how many pages, how many stories. You're getting a graphic novel, which, like you said, the Big Two would be charging $40, $50 for. So
absolutely. And there we go. You can get a standard copy of that beautiful shelf porn. That's what everybody wants. Some shelf porn. We all want that on ourselves. You know that. When we take those pictures behind us, with ourselves behind us, you don't want them to look at us. Yeah, you want them to look at ourselves.
Yeah, let's go through the stories. They're all like really crazy. Angie Gogo is the other vampire story. She's a vampire stripper. Is the tagline there.
Oh my God! So she's not only sucking my pockets dry, apparently.
Have you seen Hustlers?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's the like primal kind of feminist revenge story.
It's Zeno's ass with teeth. Gotcha. All right.
Exactly. So Exodus Z Zombie Fubar. So if you've read Exodus Z, there's like a few pages where there's characters that go off in different directions. This is their story. They kind of meet back in. So it's its own story. Exodus Z is where the zombies reach the gates of heaven. And so it's a really cool concept. Guy's Succession is another one where it's a horror with like an environmental spin on it. And so there's this girl who dies. It's kind of like Black Widow, or not Black Widow, Poison Ivy, to where like she's kind of the wrath of Earth itself. She's Gaia's wrath, and so she's kind of destroying all these people that are destroying the planet. So it's really cool. Ingrown, there's this ingrown hair, and the woman kind of picks at it. It's more of like a silent comic where there's not a whole lot of lettering to it. But the guy that makes it, he does the writing, art, the lettering that is in there. He does everything. It's one guy. So it's black and white with some red accents. Yeah,
oh my God, this looks so EC right here. Oh,
yes, another like kind of homage style. So yeah, John Westhoff, the guy who works on it, he does Drumsticks of Doom. This one is.
Oh, I know Drumsticks of Doom.
Yeah.
Hey, yes.
Part-time comics, yeah. So that one has this monster, and it's very alluring. Where like the monster is in the shadows, you don't really see him until later in the book, and so it's very suspenseful.
You dig it.
Oculus Diavoli, it's kind of a new monster. You can kind of see a little bit of it there in the shadows. I've never seen anything like it before. Edgar Wolf, who works on Exodus Z and Zombie Fubar, which is in the anthology, he created this one all by himself, and it's a unique monster that I'm excited to see. I haven't even seen the pages yet. I think Jorge and Edgar have, but it's really Orion's Cube is cool.
Keep on
There's
trucking.
yeah. The Mez makes this one. There's a trucker who is kind of warning everybody about this Wendigo, and nobody listens to him until it's too late. And it's a really cool one. That one had the original art for the cover sold almost immediately when we put it on the campaign page.
Okay, now this title has me intrigued. Sex
Yes.
with demons. What in the F? Are you telling me I might exercise you by busting a nut? Oh my God!
So Juan Navarro, who goes by Flacata, which is this. Jorge told me the other day it's the sound of a chancla when you throw it. It's
Yeah. As a Latino, that's why I always laugh when I see that. You know, I'm Puerto Rican, if you can tell. And yeah, man, I mean, facata was something. You know, you don't want a facata.
Yeah, that's his Instagram handle. So sexually transmitted demons. It's got this heroine, which is very heavily influenced by Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and a bunch of monsters. And instead of diseases that get spread through intercourse, it's these terrifying demons.
Oh
And
my God! Yo.
I am super excited to read it, and the cover is just
when
phenomenal.
you apparently say that was a hell of a nut, it might be literal.
Yeah, that's definitely not going away anytime soon.
And
then of course Tales of Goop. The tagline that you follow Goop the Frog as he faces bloodthirsty vampires, the wrath of kings, and his own mortality.
Hey.
So
with a bunch of rewards right there, digital copy standards, digital collectors, bundles. I mean, my man got everything up in here. You have a digital deluxe that has a whole bunch of different.
That's the one I was talking about, where the digital copy is 7, but there are a few more that we've added to these for stretch goals. Like they say in the parentheses there, there are new issues joining this all the time. So it's $20 for all of the other independent creators that are on Phantasmagoria, their books as well. So
there we go. I mean, see, this is what you gotta do. Indie comics, they really bless you when you see a big 2 or even a premiere campaign that will hook you up on this level at this price points.
Absolutely
none.
This is the one that's probably the most popular. Is people know us from another comic, or they're friends of ours or something, or they follow us on social media, and they're like, okay, well, I'm a fan of CL Zeno, I'm going to grab the Goop cover. And so when we are having you expand your indie comics network, we want to make sure, you've got the variant cover, but we're going to give you the standard cover also, and that's at a discounted rate as well. So we're definitely trying to hook people up as much as possible.
I mean,
and then
cover.
And if you only want half of them, Wavestand teamed up with us, and they created a Phantasmagoria logo that's on there. People may have had the Exodus Z one that Jorge did also. But you've got a Wham stand to kind of put it on your collection and give it the shelf space that it deserves. And then, if you're crazy and you want all of the covers, you're a big fan, then we definitely hooked you up with a discount there. It's only $110 for the 10 covers, so it's almost down to $10 a pop. So
you got it done. There's ad tiers there for you guys that need to advertise as well. You got a 4X, 6X. I mean, it's all there. And the links are below, and I've been sharing it. Here we go. That's the Kickstarter right there. Of course, that's the website right there. I gotta add the Kickstarter in the notes, though. He just gave me. How dare he? How dare you only give me a But it's all right. I was prepared anyway to pimp this out the game, because this is what we do. We're showcasing amazing independent creators and comic books that are, again, these are all the guys that are in the future. Oh, I love this type of shit. This looks so graffiti.
There's sponsor options. So those last 3, we had an ad that was that joined us, to where it's Charlie's comic down in Florida. Does 3 comic conventions. There's like a collectibles, a Comic-Con, and like a car show. And so there's an ad in the book, And if you bring Phantasmagoria to any of those events, that is your ticket. It is cheaper than buying a ticket to the convention if you just buy this comic and then go to the Comic-Con. So it's your ticket to 3 conventions, which is like,
Oh
I've
my,
never seen
you hear
anything
this,
like
folks?
that.
You hear this, folks?
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. And then from a collector's perspective, to collect the stamps from all 3 of those events in your comic, you know, like in the old comics where you get like a key issue, if you were to get
Yeah,
that too,
man. Heck yeah.
they've got like the tear out ads or something like that.
You
And
know
that,
what? I think Independent needs to bring back the stamps, like the more old school
yeah,
Marvel 70 stamps.
stamps.
If you guys do this collaborative effort, collect all the stamps, and maybe you get this ultra exclusive, amalgamated like team up cover of something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what the idea is for these exclusive covers. So if you sponsor it and you want to, like, let's say you own a comic book store or a website or a podcast or something, and you want to have like an exclusive cover, so you want to back the 11th cover for this story and then be the exclusive retailer for it, so the collectors seek you out in particular. You get 10 copies of that, and you fund that additional cover being printed in the first place.
Oof, oof. Look at that. He pimping the game, folks. You know, there's tons of add-ons and stretch goals. Look at the preview pages of what is fun comics. You know, I showed you some goodies. You ain't
Yeah.
see these. You saw this one, but you didn't see everything. I mean,
Yeah.
look at this. And of course, a big shout out to Comics World
Yep.
Spring. This is
Yep.
printed in the good old USA, baby. Printed
Yeah.
at home to support, you know, home brewed, homegrown businesses here in the United States of America, folks. And a big shout out to Comics World Spring, because I know for a fact that they are one of the biggest supporters of independent comics out there in the
Yep.
game today. So a big salute to them. I mean, and no, I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just telling what it is. I've been to shows that they have sponsored. And you know, and because I know how they sponsor is why I salute them, because we need
Yep.
more folks just like Comics World Spring to be able to showcase amazing independent creators like my man over here, CL. And folks, again, you know, a big salute to you, 75 backers. But let's make it 200 backers. Let's make this $10,000. You know, when we have at 0, all right. You know, and let them get funded superly over here, folks. You gotta support these guys. This is the future of comic books, of independent comic books. All right. So see out. 2 questions before we go.
Yeah.
First up, you know, I know you're pimping your words here with 12 days to go. Are you going to be showcasing yourself at any conventions during the rest of this year?
So I'm down in the Virginia area. We have a bunch of Comic-Cons coming up. Let me just get up my schedule so I don't miss one. Give me 1 sec. All right, con schedule.
You take that time, because we got to showcase where independent creators they're going to be at. You know,
right.
It's across the East Coast, so let's go.
All right, East Coast. So one of the best conventions on the East Coast that not a lot of people might know about is the Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. Very comics focused. I know a couple people that'll be at that one. Fredericksburg Comic Con on June 29th. Phantasy in Chesapeake on July 27th. The brand new Atlantic Comic Con here in Norfolk on August 17th and 18th. So those are all coming up this summer. So.
Well, look at my man keeping busy to pimp his wares, get these books signed for you. Get your orders in now, then you can line up for any one of those shows, you know, and get your books signed. Those beautiful Kickstarter books, and then of course, you know, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have some inventory there, but they may not be as exclusive as the Kickstarter ones. All right, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, make it happen. So. Yeah. Lastly, you know, before you pimp some more, hold on. I know you want them to
you're good. You're good.
I know you want them to spend that money, but hold on. Advice, because you know you're doing this, you're independent creator, you're getting these projects done. You know you have formed an army of amazing independent creators to do an anthology horror book. You know, thank you for that. As a fancy creator, thank you for being bold enough to share your story and build a team at that to share their story. So a big salute to you, my brother. Now talk about advice. Like, what would you give to those, you know, creators out there, you know, trying to step into the game, especially dual threat artists, people like yourself, which happen to be writers and artists?
Yeah, that's a great point too. So like, there's really not a whole lot of things on, you know, let's say like I've done, this is my 3rd comic project, and people that have done 0. There's really not a whole lot in between where you're at and where I'm at, besides the work that goes into it, is really the only thing. So as long as you're willing to put in that work, you can definitely make it all the comics that you want. And I would say starting with a small project. So if it's a 6-page story in an anthology, if it's, a zine, if it's something small, just get something out so that you can kind of get the positive contributions from your work kind of felt, and you get to reap those rewards. That's definitely a better way to do it. Like I was working on Drunk Mom, the image behind both of our videos here. And that was the momentum for that was really killed by COVID. And that's when I started working on Evander's Theory. And so I really am glad that I took the time to do more comics before investing the time to write and draw the 26 pages. Right. So I had a little bit of, kind of like feedback, right? So I put the comic out. There's things I would have done different. I learned a little bit, and the eternal learning cycle of creativity really just does keep you going, I think. And then, so that's like a practical thing. I think artistically, what I would say as advice is like put your whole self in there, right? Like I have a lot of like anxiety. I talk about that pretty openly. And I think that's reflected in my work quite a bit. So like Goop has these, internal monologues of the king who tells them that you're a monster and you're all these bad things. And he wrestles with those. And so that is not only hopefully relatable to somebody, but helpful and lets somebody see like, hey, I'm not the only one going through this. And so that's not only going to help them who's reading it, that's going to help you creatively. That's going to help you kind of get that out. And that's one of the reasons why artistic expression is kind of this compulsion, is because it does help you. It's therapeutic, and it helps you keep going. So that would really be my 2 pieces of advice.
Folks, you heard it. My man is dropping the knowledge. He's dropping the science that you could level up in the game. And I know someone asked, where can you check it out? So there we go. The letter C, the letter L, Zeno, ZENO.com. And the same thing for all the social platforms. The letter C, the letter L, ZENO on all social media platforms. But right now, the goal, the most important thing that I need you guys to click on is the Kickstarter. All right. From Comic Unknown, it's Phantasmagoria, a horror anthology, live now. 12 days to go, folks. We got 75 backers, but let's make it 150. You know what I mean? Let's make that 10 racks. Let's break all them tiers and all. Let's support independent comics, baby. This is the great CL Zeno, the duo threat that you need to put on your radar. All right, let me tell you, double threat. You guys have no idea, and you want to know? You support this book. That's how you're gonna find out how talented the homie here is. All right, and with that, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Showing the love to Comic Crusaders, to Almega, to CL Zeno, baby. You know what it is. All right, follow my extended family at comiccrusaders.com, undercovercapes.com. Oh, actually, you know what? And also check out my brothers and I on the P3 podcast. That's right, P3 pod all over the socials. Hasta la próxima, mi gente. Wepa!
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.com and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.